Are there memories, a certain time period when you were engaging in your work across the years of your experience where you just felt really engaged with the work and where you felt like, this is why I do this work? This is public health. I'm so happy to be a part of this. This is why I do this.
Yeah. So for the first part, to say what I do today. So as I mentioned before, head of public health for CareFirst. I'm a Blue Cross Blue Shield company that services both the Maryland, DC, and Northern Virginia area. So I oversee our health equity enterprise strategy. You might be like, what does that mean? And why does a health plan have a public health function to some degree? And so a lot of this was birthed out of the movement that's been going on in healthcare where health plans, hospitals all of a sudden discovered social drivers of health, where you live, work, and play impact your health. It's marvelous on how they just discovered this a couple of years ago. But if you're a true public health person, you had known that this has been research that we have known since way, way back. And really, this idea that ever since George Floyd's murder, we actually haven't gotten that far with actually making systems equitable. And the way I like to look at my job in many ways is I believe that and I'm gonna use a DC analogy here. There are a lot of superheroes across CareFirst through our marketing side, through our investment strategy, external relations, public policy, so forth. They are doing amazing jobs. My job in many ways is to be the watchtower to help coordinate the work, the watchtower to help making sure that we are celebrating those small wins and really a place where people can get advice and guidance and being coached to how they can cultivate their own unique lens of a situation and then make it better for the members that we serve, which is about 3.5 million members within the region across all lines of business. And so my day to day is really helping to be that connective tissue across the organization, leaning into my own superpower that I mentioned earlier as the connector, coaching people on how to think about things, asking those thought provoking questions. Because when we talk about health equity, it requires us also unlearning a lot of the things that have benefited a lot of people throughout society. Mm, Often people used to say this whole idea that we need to bake equity into the work that we do. And I was like, anyone that has done baking, you have to remember that if you put salt instead of sugar, there are inequities baked into the system as well. And so if we're going to do that,
Yeah.
we just have to throw out the whole entire system and start from scratch and asking ourselves, why are we doing it this way? I'm a big Deming fan, and his quote would always be, every system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets. And so, how do we start thinking about that and thinking about why do I do this? Even just a random side story, talking with my cousin, and Antigua is very conservative on like when we talk about religion. I did a talk and I say I'm Bryan Buckley, he, him pronouns. And he was like, oh, like, why are you using pronouns? And I asked him a question because often people just think it's about the LGBTQ plus community. But I was like, no, not everyone has the privilege that may look like me, that it might be more obvious. Not everyone feels comfortably and psychologically
Hmm.
safe. I met Rodney Smith. In your mind, you might think, "Oh, that's a man." No, it wasn't, and how pronouns also help us just identify who it is. He's like, "Why do we have to use that?" I was like, "Why do people call me Doctor Buckley?" We've already accepted certain things already as this is just the way we do things. I was like, "I just went to school longer than most people, but that doesn't mean I have all the knowledge in the world." Half of the time is me
Hmm.
being to knowing who the people that have that knowledge and using that privilege in a way that allows their voice to be elevated. So I think those are the things that, are really important in how I'm trying to push the organization to think differently, to care and think about that strategy. To the second question that you had about like a story about just when I woke up and be like, yo, I love what I do. I'll use two.
Hmm.
Say when I was at the Michigan Health and Hospital Association, it was one of the first jobs that I just truly enjoyed. That I found like I just like this is why I was built. One, I had an amazing supervisor. Shout out to Steve Levy out here, which was like he pushed me to be better. I used to have a humongous stage fright. Like when it came to public speaking, I like most people. Actually, I think the research has shown that people are more afraid sometimes of public speaking. It's like the second following death. And
Hmm.
so some
It's up
people
there.
don't. And I remember I asked him, I was like, I have issues with public speaking. And He's like, "What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna have you present to our board and ask for $500,000." I was like, "Wait, what?" He was, "The only way we can do this is exposure therapy." So I had a really great boss that like cultivated my talents. And I had an amazing CEO, shout out to Brian Peters, which was the first time I heard around sponsorship. We talk about I remember Brian Peters called me up one time and was like, "Hey, I want you to go talk to this guy." And I was like, "Okay, cool." I'm talking to it's an older black gentleman. He's like really known in the world in Michigan, very influential dude. And I'm like, "Hey, I was told to talk to you, but I have no idea what we're supposed to be talking about. I didn't get the instructions here." He's like, "Oh, Brian didn't tell you?" I was like, "No." Brian and I were meeting up, and Brian told me, "I have this really, really great guy at my company, and I see him being something someday. Would you mind mentoring him?" And I was the first time I had
Mm,
even heard about sponsorship and this idea of when I'm not even in the room, someone's talking and trying to uplift me. And so I think that whole entire how they were trying to incorporate health into it. Didn't really think about social drivers, didn't think about health. I was so happy there because I had a team, a leadership, and they allowed us to go beyond and think outside the box and question the box. And I got to lead a lot of their initial health equity strategy there and still have really good relationships there with Sam Watson and others that are still there. And so that was definitely a time that I was like, yo, I really love doing what I do. And I would say the second one is probably in my last job, NCQA, National Committee for Quality Assurance. I was the health equity lead and oversaw the enterprise-wide strategy around health equity. And they essentially accredit health plans. I enjoyed that job too. I've enjoyed most of my jobs because I get to be in a space where I get to challenge the status quo a little bit and having courageous moments. It's the whole idea of killing them with kindness and be like, "Hey, I hear you're against." In that role, it was very external. So it's like I would talk to people that are like, "This whole DEI thing or this whole thing, blah, 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 is how do we reframe those stories? Hey, you're saying this, but what I'm seeing on the ground is people are dying. Those are brothers,
mhm.
sisters, your neighbors. And we need to come with
Yeah.
that realization that I don't care what it's named. What are you doing to think about economic inclusion and making sure that people are not dying every day? You're getting caught up in the title of what it is. What are
Mhm.
you doing? Your solution. And I think when you challenge that and you ask, what are you trying to do to contribute to a better society? If you don't have an answer, then I'm not really in the business of trying to talk to you. And so I think those are cause used to get really excited about that. And I guess I still technically get to do it a little bit today. So I say those two stories are like just moments where I wake up and I'm just like, ooh, I'm excited today.
Systems produce what they're designed to produce. I really appreciate you naming that. Yeah, systems produce what they're designed to produce, but we're all designers though. So to put it back out to the people to say none of what exists here is by accident. Systems produce what they're designed to produce, but then also, hey, we can design other ways of doing things. There are other ways that are possible. And so I appreciate you naming that as well.